In a previous video, I talked about how we're both matter and spirit, how our allegiance to the divine, to powers beyond ourselves, is tested when we go through hard challenges in life. When the ground beneath our feet is shaking uncontrollably, we tend to look up towards the sky. But in this video, I'm going to talk about your divine plan, a plan that's been set out for you, a true purpose, if you will. And many people on the planet right now are leaving their bullshit jobs in favor of pursuing a life of true purpose and meaning. Now, if you're watching this video, this is probably something you're interested in, and maybe you're at a point of confusion. But I'm going to break down 4 stages that most people go through in order to connect with their divine plan. It's something I went through more recently when I left my job as a paramedic and went through multiple little mini careers to find my true path and purpose. Hopefully these 4 steps will save you a lot of the time and agony I went through in finding my true path. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. And before we get into these 4 steps more specifically, it's important you stay till the end of the video because I'll be revealing one key. And if there's anything you get out of this video, it's this one key that if you did this one thing, you forgot everything else I said, it will still lead you towards this path. The first one here is we begin the process of maturing, moving from young boys and girls to adulthood, beginning to take on more autonomy. I remember when I first got my first job at McDonald's, I was 14 years old. And my first big purchase that made me feel like I was a true individual, that I had my own autonomy, was buying my own cell phone, paying for my own cell phone plan, being able to text my friends. This was the first sign of maturity and autonomy. Yet I didn't know very much about the world or about myself. The second stage came when I began to build a life for myself around my own will. Willing into existence the things that I intuitively felt I should be doing at the time. I had nothing more to follow than that. It's just a feeling. And I had ideas of what I wanted to do, but things were lining up and just being like water. I was following the path of least resistance. I was 19 years old in Edmonton. I was surrounded by friends who were going down paths I didn't necessarily want to go down, darker paths, getting into more criminal kind of activity. It didn't resonate with me at all. So I ended up moving away from home. I moved over to the next state or province and started a new life for myself there at 19 years old. And I remember there was an ad that came up one day when I was just browsing. I can't remember what I was looking at, but it was for the Paramedic Academy. And it immediately resonated with me. The ability to help people, the ability to maybe even heal parts of myself in the past, and the ability to learn how to be a leader in many uncomfortable situations. And so I went down this path and I committed, I willed into existence. I remember even getting the call, being accepted to the academy, and I didn't get accepted to the one I moved right next to because I thought, oh, I'll move right next to this academy, I'll get accepted, but the universe had greater plans. And I got a job that was I got accepted into an academy that was about 80 kilometers or about 40 miles away from where I lived. And I had a choice to make. I had about a week to decide if I was gonna commit to this academy or wait and just see how things play out. And I decided to commit right there. Again, willing into existence this opportunity. And so I became a paramedic. And I began working as a paramedic, working in small rural areas, working my way up the chain, up the ladder. This is the 3rd phase. Now I'm working in the city 8 years later. I have a pretty substantial career as a paramedic, helping tens of thousands of people, feeling like I've mastered my role, even as a medical professional and as a leader. And then an event or / crisis will happen. You may be going through this right now, is you've had a long, fulfilling career and you're now beginning to feel that burnout. There's no challenge anymore. You have a sense of mastery, but it almost weighs on you that there's nothing more to grow. There's nothing more to expand into. And this event that happens will be in the form of a crisis. For me, it was the burnout, going through PTSD, and navigating that whole mental health journey, and everything that came with it, the insomnia, the intrusive thoughts, navigating that through many different therapies, seeing a therapist for the first time ever in my life, something I thought I'd never need to do, and going through all these firsts and going through this process of transformation, similar to, a caterpillar, and how the caterpillar itself goes through a self-destructive process in order to become something greater in this cocoon. So, let me know if you're going through this process right now. It can seem like it's never going to end. It can seem like things are just getting worse and worse and worse. You can maybe even feel like you're at the bottom of a dark well. And perhaps when you start looking for the rope out of the well, when you begin taking action and climbing out of the well, is when you start getting divine messages, maybe a stronger sense of intuition. And this brings us to the fourth phase. In this process of healing, we can begin to question our resources and our limitations. Like, why was I giving so much of myself to this commitment? How much have I given up and what am I getting back? You start to question this exchange of resources, and you begin to realize the limitations that are put on you. Being a worker versus being a business owner, being a creator or editor for someone else versus creating your own content. And there's another process of individuation that happens, similar to me when I got my first job at McDonald's, and that sense of empowerment that came with getting my first cell phone. It's another opportunity to go through this transformative phase. And so here you may be really asking yourself, what am I meant to do? I remember spending many late nights sitting around, looking up at the sky. I had a balcony, I'd make myself a tea. I couldn't sleep. It was like 2 a.m. I'd be sitting there, I'd look up at the stars in the sky, I'd ask, what am I meant to be doing? This is where it's really important to listen. And this brings me to a certain ingredient, a special key that you need that will help you get past this phase, to really find out this path for yourself and purpose. Oftentimes in society, just growing up in this control system, we feel like we need a sense of control over things around us, whether it's our job, it's our income, it's our, all the institutions, like going to school and things like that. There's always a sense of control imposed on us. And we feel like we need that control and security to feel safe. Very much rooted in the egoic side of ourselves. But then when we begin to realize that we can surrender, and this is the key here, is to surrender. And what it means to surrender is to surrender your habits of your old past self, to surrender the old beliefs that you had, to perhaps even surrender the connections that you had in the past, surrender the relationships you may have had in the past, surrender the places you may even be living right now that no longer resonate. Going through this event and crisis, what needs to go. You have an idea of what you need to give up. And now, slowly, as you give up these things, your life tasks will become more apparent. This divine intuition, this divine connection that you must make space for, obviously, right? Meditation, journaling, things like that. Contemplating like I was doing, sitting on my bench, looking up at the night sky. Giving yourself these moments to allow this information to come in from beyond time and space. Because there's a whole side of you that many people go throughout their whole lifetime that's never unlocked, that they never have access to. This is your infinite expansive awareness. This is a whole human side of you that makes up 90% or more even of your mind, that subconscious part of your mind, that I call your womb of your reality. And you begin to realize that you can actually create and shape this part of yourself. And when you begin to realize this, you get access again to infinite expansive awareness, to thoughts and emotions outside of yourself. Now, mainstream media, people around you, control systems, they're heavily embedded in the rational mind. And I made a video just earlier about how we need to be a little bit more delusional when we're in this phase. Not delusional in the sense that you're lying to yourself, but to be delusional in the sense that there's things in your life that you never believed you could actually do, that you have the complete capability to accomplish. And in moving forward with these ideas that just seem so crazy, but they just might work, and giving them a chance within whatever resources you have, realizing that your limitations, and you're not as limited as you thought you are, you will begin to unfold this divine plan. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Until next time, peace.